feel free to join with us. Begin our service by inviting Melissa Piderodecki as a representative of our board to welcome everybody and to share announcements of upcoming programs.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everyone. I want to say thank you to the Shear family for blessing the candles and wine, and we're all looking forward to Ethan's bar mitzvah tomorrow, Mazel Tov. Also want to say thank you in advance to Joyce and Mike Butlin for the Torah blessings this evening. For announcements, children's ages 0 to 5 and their parents can join Cantor Kathy for Wing Sing on Sunday, February 12th at 10 a.m. in the library. Dewey's Pizza at Summit Mall is helping our religious school raise funds on Monday, February 13th. There's a flyer in the lobby, and you probably also saw it in your email. Just mention Temple Israel or show the flyer on your phone or the paper flyer when ordering. This year's Interfaith Justice Series topic is gun violence. The series starts on Wednesday, March 1st at 6 p.m. at Temple. They're requiring RSVPs. There's also a flyer in the lobby. And last, Sisterhood is baking Hamantashen next Sunday at 9:30 here at Temple. Please come to help bake for as much time as you can. No experience necessary. Shabbat Shalom.
So we know we have a number of guests, some who've come from out of town, some who I saw the Hirsches are here, who officially live out of town, but you're welcome back, and a number of other people who we may not have seen in a while. So please turn to your neighbors, say Shabbat Shalom, introduce yourself, welcome everybody as we'll begin Shabbat together. We'll invite the Shear family to light our candles as we'll turn to page 2 and share in the blessing over our candles and over our Kiddush, sanctifying Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yam techila l'michrei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta liotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadish HaShabbat. Amen.
To begin Shabbat, we're going to share the words that are on the bottom of page 19, the very last Hebrew words at the bottom of page 19, then turn to page 13, then to page 20. You don't have to go to any of those pages if you don't want to. I saw you close your book. That's okay. Because really what all of these prayers are telling us to do is simply to take our moment, to transition from whatever we were doing an hour ago to wherever our week took us, to the people that we spoke with, the people perhaps we argued with, the ones that frustrated us, the ones that blessed us, to take that time and to make this a sanctified, sacred time with our community. And so the words will start with, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivrech et amo, Bashalom, may we find that we have the strength to be blessed with peace.
Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo, Adonai yivarech et amo, Vashalom, Adonai yivarech et amo, Vashalom, Vashalom. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo, Adonai yivarech et amo.
Page 13.
Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song. Lecha dodi likrat
Page 20.
kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'diborecha, hishmiyanu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, Shemo echad, v'shemo tiferet litchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikדם lesucha, sofa aseva mashchava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki ba'ora kumi uri, shivdaveri, kavod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. face the entrance to your home, to our sanctuary. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha uvzochola, toch emuni am segula, boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Page 26. Yikadav v'kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayedecho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, uvizman kari, v'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach, le'alam u'almei almaya yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei l'kudesh barihu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'oma, v'imeru, amen.
Page 28. Page 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom this evening flows.
Adonai Hamari Aravi.
Page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too, God. Its mystery beckons, and yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know as you lead me into the mystery. Page 34 and 35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. It's an honor to invite Ethan, who will become a bar mitzvah this weekend, to lead us in our Via Hafta. It's found on page 36. Please join with him.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך, ולכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם לכל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
It's close. I'm waiting. He's the closest one yet to be taller than me. They shouldn't be taller than the rabbi at their bar mitzvah. We're looking forward to this weekend in which Ethan will be our teacher and our leader and our Torah reader tomorrow morning, and we'll celebrate you and your family. And we celebrate collectively, as we mentioned in the weekly email, the history that in the Shear family, being a part of this congregation for so many generations, it helps us to reach back and think about the many people who have been a part of our congregation over the years, reaching back generations prior. Cantor Kathy and I had the opportunity to visit Helen Sood this week, turned 99. 99 years in Akron, and she can remember very well what Akron was like a century ago almost, as her family started their journey here. We celebrate all of those journeys. We celebrate the achievements, the good moments, the times in which we have been able to cross through whatever challenges faced us and found ourselves with people we love. The words of Micha Mocha. We share them, page 40.
לפני משה ומרים זה ליאנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Our prayer for peace that we say to our children sometimes when they're lying down to go to sleep, so that we hope that they wake up with a self renewed, that God has watched over them and over us. Hashkivenu, page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, ufrosalinu sukat shlomecha, frosalinu sukat shlomecha, amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. O Adonai. Amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. O Adonai.
Page 46. We you rise in body or spirit as we turn to our Amidah, our most personal prayers, beginning with the words, Adonai Sefetai Tiftach, that we have the strength to share the words of our heart, and we'll close this series of prayers with our own personal silence as we reflect on what's important to us at this time and in this moment. Page 46.
Adonai Sefetai Tiftach Ufi Agita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Kol Mel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Ge'ula Livnei V'Nehem L'Ma'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Berofech Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'agavurot Umido Melech Melech Meimit Umechayeh Umatmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kdoshim b'chol yom yehalalucha sala baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. Just about an hour before services, I read a report that there was a terrorist attack, and a small one in Israel, if you can say that. A man ran his car into people at a bus stop in Jerusalem and unfortunately killed a 20-year-old young man and a little boy. In the mix of the reports, it's also reported that the man had just left a psychiatric hospital. So the reality is we don't know. We don't know what he was thinking. We don't know if he was thinking. We don't know if he was intentionally driving into a bus stop or not. It's a mess. And we can quickly come to conclusions that we will probably never find. So when there are no words, when there are perhaps strings pulling upon our hearts that we wish for better days and more hopeful visions to understand what's happening in the world of psychology and psychiatry and in the world of hate and divergence among people who live next door to each other, we share the words of Shalom Rav, that the greatest source of togetherness, of wholeness, of shalom, of what makes people their whole selves and a whole community can be a reality for us. Page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon l'chol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon l'chol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam.
Take a moment for our own personal prayers.
Say shalom bimrama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'imru imu amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. So we, since Ethan is the bar mitzvah this week, and it is the reading of the Ten Commandments, we gave him the good stuff. So we're going to read the stuff nobody ever talks about tonight. So I wanted to share these two passages that my guess is, if you've ever read through the book of Exodus, you probably just skim over these two and don't really worry about them. So here's the first. The story is the Israelites are getting ready, they're on their journey, and God is saying to them, I want you to build me an altar. Now an altar, yes, in biblical times was for sacrifice, but toss that part out for now. The altar was like God's house. Like, I want you to build me a house. Build something for me. And God says, so there are two rules that come out of this. I think they're on the surface super strange. We'll see what you think. First is, if you build me an altar of stones, don't build it out of chiseled stones. Okay, that's the first rule. Second is, when you build the altar with steps, don't walk up the steps, otherwise your nakedness may be exposed. Yeah, we skip over these. See? You're looking at me like you haven't heard them before because you haven't. So first one, give us one reason, somebody speak up, one reason, why would God say build an altar not out of chiseled stones? Anybody want to guess what the problem is with chiseled stones? They did have chisel. That's the great answer. It's just the opposite of the right answer. So, sharp edge, says the builder, right? So one would be safety, you might think. The problem was, so the idea was that the Israelites, God and the Israelites said, you shouldn't use, the rabbis talk about this a lot, you shouldn't use a tool made out of iron for something that is supposed to be life-affirming. So God's home should be something about living a long life. Iron are tools that are used for weapons. Weapons shorten life. So we don't want you to mix up the idea of something that lengthens life with something that is intended to shorten life. So we don't want you to chisel anything out of the stone. That's the first problem. The second problem was, what else would you chisel out of stone? God didn't like that a lot. Idols, right? It might become idol worship. All right, second rule. What does it tell you that you shouldn't walk up the steps to expose your nakedness? We get some good ideas out of this one. Yeah. Right, they were wearing skirts and they didn't wear underwear, it turns out, according to Exodus. So the first rule we learn from this one is wear underwear. Yes, Nita? Interesting. So maybe God didn't want you to climb the steps because your ego would become, I'm up on the top step, right? So we could read this, we can skip over it. We're not going to do that tonight, though. So tonight, what on earth is this about? So here's my argument for it. I think that God is asking us in the Torah when we are about to have a serious conversation, because you wouldn't have a non-serious conversation if you were going to the altar, to the home of God. First, we have to be affirming of life, and second, it matters how we approach it. And yet, if we were to go into our own lives and say, okay, when I go to approach a serious conversation or a hard conversation with the people that I'm closest with, that are most important to me, sometimes those are the conversations that we bring the most weapons to. Those are the conversations that are more about us getting onto the higher level than other people being on the higher level. That when we go to have these very heated personal conversations, when we're passionate about something, that sometimes we do precisely the opposite. So I'd like to believe, whether this is what the intent of the text was or not, I'd like to believe it's actually a message to us. This is how you approach something when it's a hard conversation, when it's a serious conversation. You don't bring your weapons, and you make sure you pay attention to how you look when you're walking in the room, not just how the other person is. A quick story about, by an author, Leonard Felder, wrote a book called, I think, directed at our world today and our divided political spectrums, but he titled it, We See It Differently. It's all about how we can come in the room and understand each other. But he starts the book by telling a story, his own story, of when he was 14 years old. His mother had died after a bout with cancer. And he went to his grandfather's house with lots of people. His grandfather was very traditional and observant as an Orthodox Jew. And all these people gathered around. It was the second night after the funeral. And then they called for the minyan to begin. And when they did that, there were so many people at the house that essentially what they did is, by saying it's time for the minyan to begin, they said to the women, you have to leave. And this 14-year-old boy was so hurt by the fact that this was supposed to be about his mother, and all of his mother's friends had to leave the room, that he yelled at them, at his grandfather and his parents, and he said, you can't do this. Mom wouldn't like this. So his dad pulled him by his collar and put him in the other room. His grandfather looked at him. He looks back on that and he says, I wonder if I could have approached it differently. Not that I was wrong, not that they were right or wrong either. But he shares that in screaming out in the middle of the room and taking all the attention away from what they were trying to do, he ended up also taking his father and his sister out of the room, and they sat with him in the other room while everybody else prayed. And he says that he regrets not being able to approach his grandfather quietly and calmly beforehand, explaining how he could honor both what his grandfather wanted to do and what he felt his mother would want. He regrets not being able to control himself and putting all the focus of his family on him, actually, and not his mother. And realizing years later that actually they didn't really get to grieve that night. Instead, they were just all angry. And he points to a passage by Maimonides. It's an interesting question. You got to really listen to the question to get the problem. It's like a riddle. My kids like to tell riddles. This is a Rambam riddle. Here's the riddle. The Torah says you're not supposed to curse, meaning like yell at. You're not supposed to yell at a deaf person. So what's the riddle, right? A deaf person can't hear you, so why would the Torah say don't yell at a deaf person? And Maimonides' answer is The Torah is telling you that you're not supposed to yell at a deaf person because the Torah understands the problem at yelling at someone is not only how they feel when you yell at them, it's how you feel when you yell at them. Because if you can yell at a deaf person and they don't hear you, their feelings aren't hurt. The Torah says you're sinning against yourself also. So, Judaism has no problem, by the way, with arguing. No problem with having people. Remember, I was reminded recently at Passover, we have all 4 children at the table. The one who doesn't say anything, the one who's always a little derelict, the wicked child, sometimes it's called, and we have the kids who answer the questions and do what is supposedly the right thing, right? All 4 kids stay at the table. The Haggadah does not say kick that kid out. So here's what I think the end of this chapter of Exodus is asking us. What should we ask ourselves when we're walking up the steps to a serious conversation? First, are you wearing underwear? Which means, do you know what you look like to the people who you're about to approach? Your loved ones, your friends, your colleagues. And if your answer to that question is, I don't care what I look like to them, perhaps, as Torah would say, you're just exposing yourself, not your nakedness per se, but your pain and your suffering. Second question, what are you carrying? Tools to change something to the way that you want it, or are you carrying questions to fix a problem together? Estelle Frankel, a psychotherapist and Jewish spiritual leader, refers to this as, what's your tone? Do you come with humility and empathy? Or are you coming to prove you are right? And finally, third question, who are you doing this for? If your answer to that question as you get ready to enter the room is that you would say what you're about to say to someone who can't hear you, then perhaps you're just saying it for yourself. But if you're coming for a dialogue to seek potential in some new unknown answer, then you're coming to extend life, not shorten it. Felder writes about his dream of what he wished would have happened that night at Shiva. He says, I imagine if I had taken 5 or 10 minutes in a side room to brainstorm calmly with my grandfather, we might have come up with several ways to remedy the tense situation. Possibly we could have agreed to do one traditional minyan and then one non-traditional minyan, inclusive of the women and inclusive of how I saw my mom's memory. And then that would not be what I nor they remember of that important night for our family, simply a night in which we argued, in which we were all suffering separately. And we have the strength to approach the hard conversations with those we love, but let us not approach them as if they are deaf, nor listen as if we don't want to hear what's said. Let's ascend the steps. Let's carry our best questions. Let's carry the ability to listen. Not tools that shorten life, but tools that lengthen it. Shabbat Shalom. We'll turn to those words now as we'll carry our Torah around our sanctuary. We'll turn in our book to page 250 as we'll open our ark and we invite the Butlins to join us at the Bima. Please rise.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udavar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadalu Adonai Iti, Uneramema Shemo Yaktav. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hahod Ki cho b'shamayim u'va'aretz Ki cho b'shamayim u'va'aretz Lecha Adonai hamamlacha Hamit nase lechol rosh. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, haolam haolam amen. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, haolam haolam amen. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gimilu v'sadim. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah al gimilu hatzadim. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, haolam haolam amen.
Please be seated. So we'll invite Mike and Joyce to lead us in the blessing over the Torah. It's found on page 250 in your prayer books.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe Ko Tomar el Bnei Israel Item Rihitem Ki min hashamayim dibarti imachem Lo ta'asun iti El Elohei chesef Elohei zachav Lo ta'asu lachem Mizbeach adama ta'asu li V'zavravti alav et elotecha ve'et shlomecha ve'let zonecha ve'et bekarecha b'kol hamakom asher izkir et shemi avo Elohei uvartechicha ve'im mizbeach avanim ta'aseli lo tivnei et hen gazit ki habrecha Hey nafta eleha vat chaleha v'lo te'alev amalot al mizbeach asher lo tigale erzecha alav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. Thank you. With our Torah out, we offer the strength of our story upon all of those who are in need of healing at this time. Page 253, Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor Habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
there any names you'd like to share? Please share them as I look around the room.
Kathy Myers.
Dory Hoffman.
Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
As we hold the Torah up, you'll be able to clearly see those two verses that we just read. Just above that, you'll notice.
There were 4 verses. There were 4.
Sorry, the 2 verses I spoke about, the 4 verses that Ken or Kathy read. But what you'll also clearly notice right above that is what Ethan will read tomorrow out of a different scroll. But it looks the same, and you'll see it because it's the 10 Commandments, and each of the last 5 commandments is separated with a gap before that commandment. And so you'll see that there's a gap. Very few places are there gaps in the Torah. This is one of those places so that it looks like a little bit like the tablet. So please rise as we return the Torah to the Ark.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai yad Moshe. Yada lai lai lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai 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 lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai lai lai. Yai yai lai 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 lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai. Yeah, I can't hand it to you because my hands are busy.
I do everything myself.
Oh, wow. We are reassessing things tomorrow. Et chaim hi lemachzikim ma v'tomecha meusha deracheha derechei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashua Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu, Kekedim. Page 282. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latekedu la liotzer v'reishit, shelo asaynu kigoye haratzot, Velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kachol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, L'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, ushemo, ושמו אחד.
When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. And at times, this pain of separation, it seems that it is more than we can bear. But if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts, we harm ourselves and those around us, which is why the psalmist said that he learned the law of God in this affliction, that in truth, grief is a great teacher, as long as it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence, when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they themselves wished to live. We take this time to remember them now, as they live in our hearts as an abiding blessing. Continue to remember the loved ones that our community members have lost in this last month, Donald Singer and Al Moses. We add to their names those that we lost at this time in previous years: Elaine Katz Applebaum, Jerry Barone, Mary Jane Barone, Seymour Barone, Babette Barone Blumenthal, Francis Ellick, Mark Embley, Irvin M. Frost, Florence Bobroff Green, Henry Guggenheim, Solomon Hirsch, Blanche Hoffenberg, Stanley Jaffe, Ann Kavar, Irene Kellerman, Kent Kucheman, Helen Leeper, Stanley Mazarski, Anna B. May, Rosalind Mitchell, Pauline Moldavsky, Betty Shear Nar, Walter Newman, Bertha C. Noble, Celia Pokras, Les Radwani Jr., Leslie S. Radwani Sr., Rose Sarah Radwani, Gloria Rich, Mortimer Rosenblatt, Eli Schlitt, Mary Ann Seiberling, Frida Silverman, Sarah Miriam Stein, Glenn Torch, Max Lewis Volk, Beatrice Walton, Richard Widman, and June E. Zimmerman. If there are names I mispronounced or names you'd like to add, please share them. We rise in body or spirit, page 294, as we share these words honoring our loved ones. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam olmei almaya, Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya say shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Having connected with those that we loved and lost, we connect with each other as we bless each other with the words of the priests.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May God bless you and keep you.
יאיר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך.
May God's light shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace.
Amen.
Please be seated as we'll, before we conclude our service, we've made a new tradition of sharing some of the joys of our life. And so if you've had something good happen this week, you can define that however you would like. What could it possibly be, Nancy? having family together. I'm gonna repeat it. I'm gonna repeat it so that everybody can hear, because I know they can't hear you because you're not. Yeah. Celebrating Ethan, having all your family together. Well, we got 3 generations, brothers, everybody being in the same place at the same time. Not something we can take for granted today. So awesome and thank you for sharing your blessings here. So good. Other good things. Yeah, Ron. So Ron shared he went to Atlanta for a great niece. Is that what he said? A great niece's bat mitzvah. Wonderful, wonderful. One more. Any look at maybe. Same bat mitzvah. Look at this. Who would have thought? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So for all the simchas that we share and being together, being with family, and being able to celebrate the younger generations and the not younger generations. We'll share the words of Shakyanu as we say that we are thankful for being able to reach all these moments.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Please join us in
Baruch
Moti.
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המוציא לחם מן הארץ. אמן. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, ויהיה כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, ויהיה כולם. סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם, סלאם, סלאם, סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם, סלאם.
Sing it, Scott. Sing it loud.
עוד יבוא שלום, clap your hands now. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, ויהיה כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, ויהיה כולם.
Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat
everyone.
shalom, everyone.